Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Warren Shaeffer. Warren is a two-time company founder. I love this, a two-time human co-founder, and a first-generation American. He is currently the CEO and co-founder of Knowable, a venture-backed audio platform whose mission is to unlock billions of hours of learning time in order to keep people help achieve their higher potential. He started Knowable to solve his own problem. He wanted to learn new skills, but couldn't find time for video courses. So welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, Warren Shaeffer.
Hi, Ed. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, first off, Warren, why do you do what you do?
So, as you mentioned, I started Knowable to solve a personal problem, which was I wanted to keep learning, but as a new parent, found that I had a very limited amount of free time and especially a limited amount of computer time where I wasn't distracted by work or other personal obligations. And I've always been a big fan of audio. I got hooked on audiobooks back when they were called books on tape, before they were cool, I guess, to date myself. And when I realized that pretty much every company in the education space today is focused on video first education, I realized there was this huge blue ocean and problem area of learning that could fit into somebody's daily life when they're commuting, when they're washing dishes, when they're going on a run. So audio first education is something that I think does that. And it's exciting to me personally and exciting to a lot of our customers as well.
And let's talk a little bit about that. Why is it so important, do you think, to be able to share audio in a frictionless way?
Yeah, so a big part of what we're building at Knowable is a way for creators and teachers to unlock their knowledge and share it with people. And, podcasts, Ed, you've got a really fancy mic and a pop filter and good looking headphones on. I know people can't see this, but it's actually quite a lot of work to make a podcast, right? And it requires a weekly commitment, a scheduling process, et cetera. And so what we're doing at Knowable is actually lowering the barrier for somebody to make something that is compelling and useful and high in knowledge that someone would want to listen to. So knowledge sharing and unlocking knowledge is something that is very helpful to society at large, and audio is something that can fit into a listener's life more easily. And so combining those two goals is really important.
And it's interesting because painting the word picture can be sometimes challenging depending upon the content. Lots of times you listen to podcasts and people start talking about numbers, and you can hear their eyes glazing over as they're listening to it. What are some of the ways that you overcome that challenge to get some technical information that is taught out in an audio format?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we're really focused on brevity and having very short, to the point audio that is more useful and less kind of rambling conversation, and more about, okay, what's something that you can teach me and that I can then go and apply. Another thing that we're building into the product is actually voice-based interactivity. So I might kind of give 3 tips on being a podcaster, and then the listener could actually have the opportunity to say back what those tips were, and that can improve recollection and retention of knowledge. And that's something that's really hard to do on a podcast today because they're distributed across so many different platforms, whereas Knowable is a platform of its own and is kind of creating this learning focused curriculum. And then another thing that we can do is add music, encourage people to modulate their voices at certain levels so that it doesn't just feel like an endless droning conversation.
Is there anything with regard to video that you put in, maybe static photos, like a PowerPoint presentation here or there? Does that in combination work too?
Yeah, so we think of ourselves as audio first, not audio only. Really the reason we're focused on audio is because, again, it's something that can fit into somebody's life. You can put in your headphones, go for a walk, and in many ways actually be less distracted than when you're watching a video, right? Because you're not holding your phone or staring at your screen and kind of one tap away from a cute cat photo on Reddit or Instagram. But we do have links to resources and follow-ups, et cetera. We have quizzes and things like that to help you go deeper once you've had that first layer of audio exposure.
And what about audio commenting?
Yeah, it's not something that we've built yet, but it is definitely interesting. And we do have some live events around content. So, for instance, this week we have lessons around negotiation. And then on Friday, we do a live sort of office hours discussion with people who want to participate and go deeper in talking about that subject.
Right, because always good to, if where possible, to get that back and forth feedback. Not always possible in the format, but that's helpful.
Yeah, I agree. It is, and I think that's some of the best things of being in a learning environment is being with a group of peers who are also learning with you. So it is something that we're thinking about, just haven't built yet.
Yeah, so true. I taught a consulting class for a number of years. I had 30 something hours of content, and what I always felt is that the most important things were the conversations that were happening during the breaks, at lunches and dinners among the peers who were talking oftentimes about the content itself. But that's where it really was solidified in their mind, because they were taking the concepts that they learned and applying it practically to what they were in real life doing.
Yeah, exactly. That group discussion and recall is so important. I think a lot of what's happening right now is people are consuming a lot of content, but very rarely are you asked to put it into your own words, apply it, and that's very important for actually making information actionable.
And Warren, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours, and why are they a hero?
I have a lot of heroes. It's a hard one. It's hard to narrow down. I think I do have to mention my wife because she is just somebody who always manages to have a positive attitude, and as the mother of young children, that's not easy to do. So I'm impressed by her, and frankly all mothers who bear a lot of responsibility for a lot of the hard work of raising the next generation. But also, I'm really lucky to work with some personal heroes, including a couple of investors in Knowable. Gary Tan and Alexis Ohanian are investors in the company, and both of them were founders and just incredibly supportive advocates of entrepreneurs, and they're role models for me. So I feel lucky to be able to work with them.
All right. And lastly, Warren, how can somebody get a hold of you?
I'm available on Twitter at www.shaef, SHAEF, and that's the best way to find me.
All right. Warren Shaeffer, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ed.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.